Howdy friends, I've gotten a bunch of emails from you guys asking us to cover different types of cheese. So we're announcing today a sort of sub-series of WTF, maybe we'll call it WTC, What's This Cheese? We got a pretty cool sponsor, Formaticum. They're going to sponsor every episode that we do about cheese, and we're going to do a new one the first Wednesday of each month from now until the end of the show, which is the end of the year. So this is our first one, and it's going to be Cheese 101. Our sponsor for the WTC episodes is Formaticum. You can check them out online at formaticum.com. Formaticum imports and produces a bunch of really high-end, beautifully architected and designed papers to wrap your cheese in. You see, cheese is alive. And just like you wouldn't wrap your grandmother in plastic wrap, you wouldn't wrap a piece of cheese in that either, or at least you shouldn't. Their products will keep your cheese fresher for longer, prevent things like mold from building up, and when you invest in a nice piece of cheese that's expensive, you want it to last a while. So check them out online at formaticum.com and enjoy them throughout this WTC series. So I figured the best way to kick off a WTC series is with Cheese 101. Now, I know you know what cheese is, but do you really know what cheese is? I know I didn't. All cheese starts with dairy, and normally that dairy is milk. Cheese can be made from a number of different types of milk: cow's milk, goat's milk, bull's milk, sheep's milk. You get the point. In order to talk about cheese today, we have to look a little bit at the history of cheese. Cheese, like a lot of products in our culture, was never originally a luxury product as it can be today. Instead, it was a product that came out of survival, just like a lot of other products that are delicious, like beer, wine, and bacon. Cheese is old. It probably came out around 8000 BC. Why? Well, at that time, people started storing dairy, specifically milk, inside of stomachs that they had removed from animals. They were using the stomachs as bags. That's really important. Why is it really important? It's important because inside of the stomachs, especially the stomachs of young mammals, is an enzyme called rennet. The sole function of rennet is to break down mother's milk. When rennet comes in contact with milk, the proteins in the milk coagulate, which we'll talk about in 1 second, and it is during that coagulation process that cheese is born. So people are storing milk inside of these stomach bags, and poof, spontaneous cheese. On the topic of coagulation, milk is made up of a lot of things. It's a compound. One of the primary ingredients inside of milk is a protein called casein. Now, when casein comes in contact with the rennet, or really any acid, this process called coagulation happens. What happens is that all of the little protein molecules kind of spaz out, they tighten up, and they form these little clots, these little links. When that happens, you start to create this stuff called curds. So all of the protein is kind of like spazzing out, tightening up, and it's separating from the liquid portion of milk. And at the end, you have two different things. One is called curds, and the other is called whey. The curds become the cheese, the whey goes by the wayside. That curd can be eaten fresh, but generally it's pretty bland. Usually, people doctor up the cheese either before they introduce the rennet and it coagulates, or they do a lot of things afterward to give it flavor. For example, sometimes, actually usually, enzymes are introduced to the milk before the rennet is introduced, and a lot of these enzymes and bacteria help flavor the cheese down the line. Other things that can be done to the curds that will modify the final outcome could be where the curds are being stored, how they're being processed, are they being heated up after they've been made into curds, is salt being added? Salt is a big deal. Often cheese is packed in salt, which draws out extra moisture. That's how you get really hard cheeses. Is the cheese coated in mold? Blue cheese? Is it coated in wax? So there are all these different variables that are very driven by technique that net different cheeses, but the basics are all the same. So that's my Cheese 101. I think it's best to stop there and not go into the specifics of cheese, because then what will we talk about in the upcoming episodes? So stay tuned for more What's This Cheese sub-episodes of What's This Food. We'll make some cheese, we'll do a bunch of great cheese pairings, and we'll cook with cheese, all sponsored by our sponsor, Formaticum. You can visit online, formaticum.com. Big news, What's This Food was just placed as one of the top podcasts in iTunes. You can go to the podcast directory in iTunes and it should be smack dab right in the center. That's really big news for us. It's an honor and we appreciate everything that Apple is doing to support us. If you want to head over to our iTunes page, please leave a 5-star review and a positive comment. It helps us out tremendously. Tune in tomorrow for another What's This Food, and get to your cheese eating.